session, ladies and gentlemen, is on the rise of cargo first airlines, why India needs its own freight carrier. This is a session which is sponsored by Air India and Index Global Supply Chain. And as we are all aware, we actually depend on transferring goods more on the passenger aircrafts and in the belly space in the passenger aircrafts. But as India exports, as we aim for Make in India, for India and for the world, and export rises, the future definitely demands a shift towards a more dedicated cargo-led aviation strategy. So with our esteemed panelists, the leaders of the air cargo space, we discuss with them how we build this next phase of logistics sector, the air cargo, and moving more into having our own dedicated cargo-led aviation strategy. The session is going to be moderated by Mr. Ramesh Mamidala from Air India Cargo. He's a seasoned aviation cargo leader driving strategic growth and innovation in India's air freight ecosystem. The panel is joining us, Mr. Satti Raju, the Associate Director at the DHL Supply Chain. He has a very strong expertise in end-to-end logistic management. He contributes to optimizing processes and delivering integrated customer-centric supply chain strategies. Mr. Vikas, Patil, the head of North India Blue Dart Express, is going to be our next panelist. May I request our panelists to start joining us here on the stage, and if they can be on the stage so that people can also recognize you as you join us here. Mr. Vikas Patil, the head of North India Blue Dart Express, who's leading one of India's premier cargo airlines. He plays a pivotal role in strengthening dedicated air freight capacity and express logistics. Mr. Prem Verma joins us as a panelist. He's a seasoned consultant and a former strategic advisor and project head at Tata Motors. Having extensive experience in the automotive sector, he has contributed to large-scale projects. He brings in deep expertise in operations planning and strategic advisory solutions. Mr. Rajiv Bhattacharya, the CBO of Sagun Group, a business leader who's spearheading commercial strategy and growth initiatives across integrated logistics and infrastructure. So as I mentioned, the session being moderated by Mr. Ramesh Mamidala from Air India Cargo, panelist Mr. Satti Raju, the Associate Director at DHL Supply Chain, Mr. Vikas Patil, the head of North India Blue Dart Express. May I request the panelists to be please joining us here on the stage. Mr. Prem Verma, the consultant and a former strategic advisor and project head at Tata Motors, and Mr. Rajiv Bhattacharya, CBO, Sagun Group.
All right, good afternoon. Yeah, this is working. All right, I think we can go ahead and start. I'm sure it will be a very interesting session. I don't know, I wasn't here when she was introducing me, so just in case you missed my introduction, my name is Ramesh Mamidala. I'm head of Global Cargo for Air India. And I'm also happy that we, as Air India, as an organization, we are sponsoring this session along with Index, if I remember correctly. So it's a great privilege to be here in your presence and also in the presence of the other very competent, very experienced panel members. Some of them I met for the first time today, but it's very exciting to meet some of you with so much of experience. So the topic that you can read here is about air cargo broadly, but the topic also said that whether if we should have freighters for the country. So I'll give you a brief background to the topic, and especially those that are not from the air freight industry may get some insights as to why this topic is important for the entire logistics in India. At this point in time, the size of the industry, air cargo industry in India, is about 3.7 million tons. This includes both international and domestic. Includes express as well, because we have some express colleagues on the panel. And So international contributes is about 2/3 of this, and 1/3 of the volume comes from the domestic market. And the domestic volumes predominantly come from e-commerce, as all of you expect, which is what is growing in the country. And the rest of the cargo is personal effects and other express cargo from small to medium-sized agents in the country. And a lot of international cargo is both imports and exports, which is roughly 40% imports and 60% exports. And that ratio used to be 50-50 and very recently and it is now changing. It is tilting more towards export. You know the reason, because that is because of the manufacturing for export that is improving in the country. But we would like the imports to come down further, and we would like, as a country, we would like to see more exports, from the country. The export is growing in the country, which is what is good for the economy. Okay, so over the last 10 years, air cargo in the country, again, our colleagues will actually give you more insights from the panel, but we have seen a lot of changes. The changes included privatization of the airports, infrastructure development at the airport, especially cargo terminals. All of you have seen, at least in the metro airports. We have seen a lot of regulatory policy changes happening. We have seen processes becoming more efficient, technology adoption and technology becoming more efficient across the country. So one example that I gave to a colleague in the morning when I started managing one of the cargo terminals at Delhi airport, the import dwell time used to be almost 300 hours. From the aircraft arrival to delivery used to be 250 to 300 hours. There used to be some airports that used to take 500 hours as well for air cargo at an airport. So now if I look back at these numbers, very recently when we checked these numbers, so from that high level, the numbers have come down to 24, 25, 27 hours. See the improvement. It is now 1/10 of what it used to be. That is a result of so many changes that have happened in the country at the airports, with the airlines, with the regulatories, with the technology and processes. So similar changes, similar benefits we have seen over the last 10 years across every aspect of air cargo in the country. Now, going forward, setting the tone for the discussion, going forward, we are looking at this industry becoming 10 plus million tons, from 3.5 million tons to 10 plus million tons by 2031, 32. That is the size of the industry we're looking at. So some of my questions will include prospects are good, potential is very good. I wanted to understand from some of you as to where this growth will come from. Will it be less than 10 million? Will it be more than 10 million? And which segments will contribute to that growth? That's one thing we will debate in this panel. And by 2047, we are looking at this size to become 25 million tons. So there is a huge opportunity. So some of the gaps, which is where freighter is important, is when the industry becomes 10 million tons, the airlines that are operating, both national airlines as well as foreign airlines, will they have so much of capacity to serve the industry? So broad guess is that we may not have enough capacity to serve 10 million tons, is the reason why we need freighters, right? We have very less number of freighters. So one estimate, if you look at the size of US economy, their GDP and the number of freighters they have in US versus our size of the economy and the number of freighters that we should have, the size is about at least 90 freighters for the size of our economy. They have hundreds of freighters. We only have 6 freighters in this country. Most of them are the blue dot, that's why he's smiling. So, but then we should have had 90 freighters, but we only have maybe 6, 7 freighters operating in the country, owned by the Indian carriers. So much is the gap. Whichever direction you look at it, the demand gap, supply gap, and the freighter capacity gap, we definitely need to have freighters in the country. That's a broad answer. But then there are challenges. We will examine some of the challenges in this meeting. So with that background, everything is looking very positive, very exciting, but there are some headwinds and challenges that we see in the growth of air cargo. With that, let me open the panel with the panel members. What I suggest is, before I start asking some pointed questions, I would like each one of you to give some quick opening remarks, and then let me start asking some questions. So I can start with Prem. Prem, your remarks, opening remarks for the topic.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. No response. I'll keep on saying, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to give a an outsider's perspective to the whole thing, as I requested Ramesh also, because I don't know much about air cargo operations per se, but I am as a customer, I can give. And what I was also thinking when we said, because first of all, I think what you are saying is a business moving at 11 to 12% CAGR is simply fantastic. We can say that. But at the same time, when we talk of opportunity, we said by 2047, some 30 million. But as a customer, as an outsider perspective, I would like to challenge that. Because the opportunity is anything which moves. So it's not the opportunity which we say, because going by the arithmetic, that okay, we have been growing by 8%, 9% and 10%, so we might go by 11 or 12 or 14, and that's the opportunity. So for a customer, the opportunity exists, which means anything which is moving, yes, there will be some, we can start eliminating the ones which cannot be the hazardous or all those kind of things. You people know better. And that's where what I feel, the customer and the people who want to use air cargo as looking at it. Because, today, what is the situation? I was just hearing you out. If I am allowed to draw, what is the time limit? Okay, great. Then I think we have ample time. I do understand, because by air, if anybody uses it today, is more by default, not by design. If I'm allowed to make a very blunt comment, and my boss taught me one thing in life, he says, anything you achieve by default will disappear. It's only anything which you achieve by design is going to stay with you. So it's all because COVID, yes, we need to use air cargo. There's a medical emergency, we need to use air cargo. There's something which is happening, calamity or those things, you're going to use air cargos. Is air cargo my preferred choice or not? Answer I don't have to give. We all know the answer. And believe me, once we are through with this thing, I can also draw a parallel which, because of my previous background, I was the chairman of the SAM Logistics Group, which is an automobile association. And there was a time the railways had a share of 0.5% of automotive transportation. And we had exactly the similar problems. And from there, it moved in 8 years to 23%. So anyway, that's for the separate thing. But this thing would be that if we are going to only look at 11, 12% CAGR, then the things which move, we will be missing them completely. Thank you.
Yeah, because you are.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the response. And I also wanted to start with that. I think this is a very, very important topic, and I want a participation also later on when the Q&A will be there. Because just wanted to start with the few data which definitely you said. And definitely the data which 3.7 million tons cargo is being handled, right? So I think in 2025 it deserves a big round of applause. The kind of our Indian air, I think the applaud is less. I think I want a participation. Because this is very, very important topic, and I think when we are into the discussion, I think we should discuss it out today. So when we talk about the market, so out of this market, last year, Y&Y growth was 10% as a whole. International, we grew by, overall, if I talk about the industry, we grew by 14%, and domestic, which is again, I think we all, the August gathering which are here, and very happy to be here today. Thank you, Logistics Shakti, for calling us for the event. Special thanks to Amit, I think, who pushed us a lot to being a part of this. So domestic, which is 6%. Now if you talk about the contribution, and one data again, I just wanted to add that we are working with 8 freighters. We have 6 757 and we have 2 737. So India has dedicated 8 air freighters. So in initial remark, definitely I just wanted to say that there is enough at the top. And I think there are certain challenges. The opportunity is immense, and I think I will go the question what you raised with that, whether we can achieve 3.7 to 10. I think definitely we can achieve, and I think we must achieve. And I can only say it's not we alone. I think together we can achieve, right? Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening everyone. At least some response to me also. Phil Verma ji and Patil ji ko bahut response mila. Once again, good evening everyone. This is Dr. Paniraj Murthy. So I agree with Mr. Vikas and Ramesh ji also what he said. So India is coming up in a bigger way that way. The air cargo industry is going to be contribute more in terms of to our industry. Currently what we are having around 3.5 million tons, it's going to be in a 10x. So now here I look at as a businessman, I look at that, how do I capitalize this opportunity? That's right, no? We're all sitting here to do some business, right? So how do we are going to be capitalize this? What are the systems we need to do that? How should we gear up to handle this, to take up this industry to the next levels? So that's what exactly is my opening note on this. Over to Ramesh ji. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your, I think these comments are great. So as the Prem rightly said, the opportunity is much more. I think if you say 10 billion is the potential, you may stop there. You may not look at opportunities that beyond 10 billion. So I think that's a very good perspective, and that is my view as well. So just taking the discussion forward, especially because I wanted to understand from you, since you are kind of heading all the segments of Blue Dot, in the North India, obviously you have a very good view as to how each vertical within a cargo is behaving. So either it is 10 million or 12 million or 35 million that would happen eventually. Where do you think in the next 5 years the growth for air cargo will happen from? Which vertical, which products, which commodities, and what do you expect as the challenges for those opportunities, and what should we do as the industry and the trade to surmount the challenges?
So I think thank you very much. Very, very good question, and I think we all should have few questions on this, and I think few answers. So first of all, we need to understand that why a customer or a manufacturer or a supply chain person want to use the air freight. So basically, if you see the air network is being used first of all for speed. As I said, safety, security, reliability is one part. Speed is one. Secondly, the critical supply chain. If you talk about auto parts, assembly lines, there are spare parts, there are small parts, there are larger parts. Then there is a critical cargo wherein there are temperature sensitive things which need a time by movement. Apart from that, two important industry I just wanted to tell, and again we need to discuss more onto it. Is one is pharmaceuticals, the kind of pharmaceuticals manufacturing units which are moving as per the economic corridors which being made, and what kind of a infrastructure and what kind of a connectivity we have. And last but most important is the e-commerce. And again, e-commerce market, the market which is B2C, D2C, and the quick commerce. I think this speed, we have seen, humongous speed into it, and again, there is a lot of demand which is there, and accordingly we need to work. The business are more moving into tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Now here the question comes. We are working with the 8 freighters, and amount of capacity we are utilizing. So our freighter very interesting, and I will take some time because I have an opportunity and very few people knows it. So our freighter run almost in a time zone of 9 hours. So in 9 hours, we are connecting the complete India. 22 hours in the late evening to early 7:30 in the morning. Everywhere the material reach. So again, I am telling you, it is not only the air connectivity. It is not only the air connectivity. It is the infrastructure which supports the road. And the most important part which everybody face into the major cities and towns where Again, people may have a difference in opinion, but again, where the dedicated air freighter and the belly space which is available in the market, the second point, which is the movement of the material from the airport into the cities. And again, that timing something which is more important, right? So moving the freighter into the timing wherein 7:30 every city, major cities are having the road barrier entries because no entry starts at morning 7:30. So practically the delivery time which is available is 6 to 7 hours. So 11 to 5 is the time which is available. And I think that need to be understood. So that is a thing which we are talking about, the major cities, 8 lane which we connect. But now comes the major and which is the most important part is how we connect to the Bharat. We talk about the Bharat, but again the connectivity which is important. So government of India, I think they are working fabulously. We are having the infrastructure. So I never see that, these are the major highways which are coming it's somewhere which is contradicting. I feel it is complementing. So again, the second wave is coming like that. So there are a lot of airport which is coming. What needs, and I think now coming to the second point which is said, is the infrastructure. It is not only point A to point B aircraft movement. It is the movement of the aircraft from the aircraft to the ground and the turnaround town. I just wanted to tell everybody that our aircraft landing and takeoff, it takes 45 minutes only. The material get offloaded and then reloaded, the material get transferred and the movement from the airport. So that is what kind of a precision which is required, and because of that we can achieve. So yes, definitely infrastructure is required, and I think there are so many airports across the country, I think, and manufacturing units which are being set up, but I think this is something which is required. Yeah, thank you.
No, I think you made some very, very important points. So a couple of points and my perspective on that before I go to Pani, which is the turnaround times that you mentioned, both packs as well as cargo. Some of the turnaround times that we achieve, especially for narrow body in our Indian airports, those turnaround times are the best in the world. For example, I have seen aircrafts being turned around in 30 minutes in some of the tier 2, tier 3 airports. So that kind of the turnaround standards that you don't really see anywhere in the world is absolutely right. The other opportunities is D2C that you talked about. I agree that e-commerce, cross-border, which we sometimes call D2C, some of you are already into that business. So we have seen that segment growing substantially over the last 4 to 5 years. And I agree with him that the size of the industry, according to some report, is only some $250 million, which is big, but it's small from what it will be in future. The estimates are that in about 5 years' time, the size of that industry will be about $2 or $3 billion. And that itself should generate about 500,000 tons of cargo, which should contribute to the 10 million tons that we have talked about. But the fact is, where the D2C, Surat is an example, where it is currently originating from, some of those airports need to improve a lot. They don't have the capacity. So they heavily depend on trucking. So I'll come to trucking because Fani wanted to discuss about trucking. The other thing that he has mentioned about e-commerce, so e-commerce is currently limited to tier 1 predominantly, but it is gradually penetrating into tier 2, tier 3. So growth to air cargo will also happen substantially from the tier 2, tier 3, from e-commerce, which is mostly domestic. But we are also seeing a lot of manufacturing for export happening in tier 2, tier 3, which I personally believe that will be the moderator or the accelerator for growth in the years to come. So some of these factors I just wanted to mention. Now let me turn to Pani. So Pani, surface transportation which is improving across the country, which is good for the country. But many people, even during the break, some of you have asked me that surface transport is competing with air cargo. So are you losing business to surface transport? Answer is yes from my point of view. But I wanted to understand from you, how do you see this kind of evolving in the country? Surface transport will continue to improve, especially tier 2, tier 3, non-metro to metro, non-metro to non-metro. This is one. Second, How do you see these two products, air as well as country needs both of them, right? Country cannot survive without one. It needs both. And I personally believe they need to complement each other. And technology can play a lot of role. You told me today morning about AI, application of AI, how AI can actually make both the products work together and make both products very efficient. So I'll leave that with you. We would like to understand your views.
Thank you, Ramesh ji. It's a good question, sir. Aviation industry or an air cargo industry, we can talk about it, you know. So without a road transportations, it's incomplete actually. So last mile can be done with us only. If you look at it on an AI part of it, so AI cannot be, replaced in road transportations. To an extent, if you ask me, in aviation or the air cargo, so in the process, monitoring, flight dispatches, load management and all, it can be done. But when you come to the LMD part of it, so it's a totally human-driven activities. The human interventions are very much required. Here, the AI can contribute in terms of a process, forecasting, and monitoring the SL level. It will be the important here. In the logistics industry, so basically, if you ask me, there are only two segments of the people works. So one is in a segment of a driver, or another one is called a laborer. So if you say that in the air cargo, we can call it a pilot. But unfortunate is that, so whole industry, the friends are sitting here may definitely vouch me my statement of this. We don't respect the drivers and we don't respect the laborers. The two segment which is driving our industry and the two segments have been totally disrespected. In that condition, so what AI can contribute over here? AI can contribute for us, sitting in a cabin and who can make up the planning, who can try to execute that. But end of the day, the executors are somewhere else. So how this AI can be done? The second point is that as an LSP, business partners, so we look for an AI who can able to generate, indicate that kind of the load factors, who can indicate the kind of the arrivals and the dispatches kind of it, where we can improve the last mile service efficiency part of it. That. So other than this, I'm not looking any other contribution of an AI here. Road transportation and the air cargo. So both together need to be work together to satisfy the end customers. So the flight can land on time, but if the road connectivity is not there, so then end of the day the shipment will get delivered in the delay. So where it is leads to an unhappiness of the customers. So that way we need to be join hands together to work on to then bring into the excellence in operations. That's what I can say.
Well, that's a view. So with this, let me move to the next topic. We talked about surveys, we talked about air, and also a topic that was discussed heavily since morning is about the cost of transportation, right? As percentage of the value of trade. So air cargo, I'm sure many of you know, the broad level numbers are, air cargo globally manages only 3% of the trade, but 35% in terms of trade value. I believe the numbers are roughly the same even for air cargo in India, should be in the same range. And when one talks about the benchmark for the transportation cost as percentage of trade, we had multiple numbers in the meeting. We even heard the honorary minister saying it is for the whole trade, not just for air cargo, it is 14 to 16%. And there is a European benchmark, there is a US benchmark, which are very competitive markets. It should actually come down to 8 to 9%. And some institutes have published reports in the recent past saying we are actually moving in the direction, which is very positive. Surface is improving, cost is coming down. So transaction cost is coming down. So all of them are helping us to move to that level. But my view, especially for air cargo, is air cargo globally and also in India moves shipments that are high value, right? So obviously the transportation cost as a percentage, when you say percentage of trade value, is related to the value of the goods that you're moving as well, right? So in air cargo, you tend to move high value cargo. So the transportation cost of air cargo value chain as percentage of the trade value should be a lot lesser. Should be, I wouldn't be surprised if it is 5 to 6%. So we are possibly even below the benchmark. Maybe there are opportunities to further reduce it. We need to examine. With that introduction, let me move to Prem, because Prem is now helping many companies, across multi-modes. So he has a good view as to what companies look at this as the transportation cost, as percentage of the trade value, and where does he see the opportunities for general trade, but very importantly air cargo, to reduce and bring that number to the benchmark level. So with that, Prem, let me understand what you have in mind.
Okay, thanks. So my take on this is slightly different. What you say is right. At the end of the day, it's the cost, which is the most significant element. But the cost is, if I'm able to create a value proposition, then cost doesn't come into the picture. So that is the why, I don't know why we should have this notion at all that anything which is expensive, only that can be transported by air. Anything can be transported by air. If, as like, let me give you an example. From Delhi to Dehradun, you expect me to send it by air? I'm not a fool. I'll never do it. And that is the reason why I insisted on giving the example of trains, because they were also the same. They were in the same situation. So what we suggested to them was, we said, please don't get involved into small distances, because small distances, railways have a freight up to 1200 kilometers, the freight remains the same. It's only beyond that it makes economic sense. And along with them, we started concentrating on Northeast. You will not believe the kind of facilities which they gave for Northeast for the trains. They had never done it before. Like example, you can't load material of 2 OEMs. They said, okay, Northeast you do it. Unloading can be done only at one place. They agreed for 3 unloadings. So what we are happening is, I'm catering to a very large sphere, and that helped us in reducing the cost. And because I know it for sure, road transportation, it has to go on in tandem with the rail or with the train. Because what he said is right. At the end of the day, you need multimodals. What will you do with the stock which has reached in a certain destination? Let's say it has reached Agartala airport and it has not been able to reach the end customer. It's absolutely of no use. So this thing is, if you can create a value proposition, then I don't think cost will be an issue at all. The other thing which I would say is that, when I moved into logistics some 18, 20 years back, that was the first time I heard the word called belly space. I was never used to the word called belly space. I said belly space means, if I'm hungry, yes, there's a space in the belly. And when we were having a meeting and we were confronted, they said, sorry, we can't take anything. And those were the days, I'm talking 18 years ago. So the belly space means you just go back, nothing can be done. So my question is, unless there is a hunger inside, how am I going to improve on the business? So whether I create additional bellies, whatever I do, I have no idea. You people know better. But at the end of the day, opportunities are galore. We need to create a value proposition for a customer. And as I repeat again, I should be a choice by design, not by default. Today I'm more by default. I have no choice. Baad aa gayi hai, train nahi ja rahi hai, kuch nahi ja raha hai. Yeah, what else do we do? Yeah, let's fly it. There's a customer who's bothering you unnecessarily. His part has to be sent. Please fly it. Medicines, please fly it. Does anybody come to you and say that, listen, I had an option of sending it by road or by train or by air. Let's discuss business. What is your value proposition? Because please don't forget, which normally we don't do a calculation, is stock on wheels is a cost, right? Now, somebody getting the stock after 8 days is a cost. Who pays for it? Somebody pays. The system pays. Whereas he gets in 8 hours or 12 hours or whatever he was saying, see the cost and see the opportunity loss. So I would like to see it more as a cost on wheels to be considered and the opportunity loss also to be considered. So just taking, standalone cost that we are 30% and we move only 3%, that's this thing. And I said, it's an outsider's perspective as a customer. I could be absolutely wrong, but I thought these are some food for thoughts which I would just raise it. Thank you.
No, I think these are very, very interesting thoughts. And let me just share a couple of things with you. There are, I can quote one, but there are definitely companies that by design, by choice, use only air cargo because of the advantages it gives. Right, speed, because obviously less inventory cost, and the speed to market, then you can actually get premium, right? and less damages. I was telling Pani today morning, less packaging, less damages, less security problems, so on. So there are many advantages with air cargo. So there are definitely companies that not related to the value of the product they move, but by design as an organization, it's a global large organization. Some of you sitting here work with that company. I don't know if I can take the company Inditex. I think Karan works with that company on some sectors. So that company moves by design only on air cargo because they have seen this. And we from Air Cargo Forum India, the organization that I represent, over the last decade, we have done a lot of studies. And we have also proven to the stakeholders that the comparison between modes, general perception is air cargo is more expensive. But if you look at the total cost to the organization, taking all that Prem just mentioned, the total cost is actually more competitive if we use air cargo, right? So that's what we found, and I completely agree with him, not just because I am from air cargo, but I am also a logistician. So from the logistics industry point of view, it does make sense. Obviously, there are the other modes that you need to choose depending on other factors as well. So this brings us to a very interesting question that a lot depends on regulatory changes that Prem talked about and infrastructure, policy changes. So the question that I have for you, Vikas, is that since you work across multiple divisions in Blue Dart, you interact with the airports as an airline operator, as a supply chain organization. When it comes to airports in India, right, and so that we can actually grow air cargo in India, what are the infrastructure changes that you think should happen, and what are the policy changes that you see should happen, and the entire air cargo related technology changes that you would like to see happen so that we grow air cargo in the country?
So, very good question, Mr. Ramesh, and I think when I started, my opening remark, I said, see again, a couple of things just I wanted to say. First of all, see again, when we talk about the air cargo, majorly, as very rightly said in India, I think we all think about the passenger. I think that thing is coming in the mind, and I think accordingly our infrastructure is being built, right? Again, I'll talk because a small portion of our business we are doing through the belly also, because something need to be there in the belly also. So, that side, the infrastructure again is a challenge. I think most of we all know. Reason being 10 hours prior to the flight departure, the material need to submit. The material will be handed over, 3 hours post the, so 3 plus 3, 6 hour delay, and further, the moment that reaches the destination, again, the local intro barrier comes. So again, the speed, again I'm talking about, and again, it's a supply and demand. What we are talking, it is coming out of that only. Supply and demand, and it is a manufacturing company whose assembly line, if required, just in time approach. And I think if something can be reached just in time, I think you very rightly said the cost can improve a lot. So as far as improvement is concerned, I think we need the cargo terminals which is pro air cargo business, which unfortunately presently not, because we see again demand and supply come. So there are few months where the demand is not that much. You can see the month from July to December. Again, you will know the kind of the load piled up at the aircraft. Again, I'll tell you how the infrastructure work and how our aircraft work. As I said, we use only 9 hours. And in the peak, what Blue Dart does, I think those 9 hours, we increase the movement of the aircraft. So where on the lane, we were doing on the crescent lane, if we are operating 2, we are operating 3. Our timing increases from 9 to maybe 10 or maybe 11 or 12. That kind of things happen. So that helps us because of infrastructure. We have our dedicated team who is completely involved into the X-ray terminal. And by the way, just wanted to update also that recently we have opened a facility. Again I'll tell you, first time in India, the facility at Bijwasan, which is a complete sustainable facility with a complete integrated. So very soon we are going to, that will be a offset facility, and the scanning will be done there only. So from there, it will be directly going into the aircraft belly. So this facility is already built up. Again, there are a lot of what I can say, the involvement of the agencies, and because safety is paramount, so that is being done. So we will be again, thanks to again the government has very rightly said that again we have the Dholka Expressway tunnel. So our distance to the airport would be 15 minutes. So that also we are going to save. So that's what I'm telling, the infrastructure play a very, very vital role. Again, I'm telling you, if you talk about international trade, again, what we can do, the paperwork facilitation, the faster turnaround, I think something can help. And I maybe differ to some of my panelists, but I think I am very amazed with the concept of AI. And AI can play a great role into it. It's not only, yesterday I was on an event launch and I saw the kind of speed you are getting in the work. It's always a half glass full and half glass empty, but a kind of the you are getting out of. I think that is what something which is required. So I think these 3, 4, 5 things which I feel is important to promote this business. Thank you.
I accept that. I think I agree with you that AI, although unfortunately most of us don't understand the technology and also the capability as to how the technology can help, but even from air cargo industry point of view, last 2 or 3 years, we have seen many companies that have the AI platforms or frameworks started implementing small tools across the industry to solve problems that we've been facing for a very, very long time. So we've heard from the expert today morning about the ability to forecast pricing, right, in the shipping industry. So in the air cargo industry, like in the trucking as well, similar, you don't know what would happen to the trucking rates or the air freight rates 6 months later, 7 months later, 8 months later, which is an input cost to a lot of agents and shippers. We struggle with that as well, right? We try to manually do it. There are systems that forecast, but they're not very accurate. So AI definitely can play a lot of role there, like it helped many industries. And there are many other, customer service, capacity management, capacity optimization, operations exceptions that we solve every single day to be able to forecast manpower accurately. There are many areas where AI can help, and I think fortunately there is a lot of research that is going on across the industry. I think the last question for the panel from my side before I move to the next phase of this discussion is for you, Pani. Since morning, many people have asked me about the geopolitical challenges and the impact of geopolitical challenges on the aviation industry in general and air cargo specifically. Obviously, the aviation industry has been impacted a lot over the last 1 year, but very importantly, the West Asia war that happened, which is still going on, impacted very badly all the airlines, but specifically Indian Airlines, because we're forced to pay more for the fuel, take very long routes, cut down a lot of capacity, ground the aircrafts. Many things have happened which are extremely poor, extremely bad for the aviation industry, especially those airlines which are operating out of India. But then I am of the belief that it has not just impacted only the aviation industry. I think it has impacted all of us. It has impacted the surface industry, transportation industry as well. So, Pani, your comments as to how big is the impact and how it actually impacted the air cargo, if you have any views, and also tell us how it actually impacted the surface transportation industry.
Ramesh ji may not be able to answer this question because I'm in expertise in the domestics movement part of it actually. So in the current geopolitics, what's happening, so you can see that there's a kind of an exports, import, air import, exports, the issues are happening over here currently. But the questions what you asked me that currently geopolitics, economic impacts, definitely I'm not be able to comment anything on this. I request any other panelists to be comment on that.
So again, I think this is a very crucial situations for all of us. I think it is unwanted and uncalled for. But again, if you talk about overall impact which is coming on us, is one is definitely, and which is more, the sounds are coming, the prices of the crude oil. For us, I think, since I wanted to be specific on the topic which we are talking about, is a Brent, the air turbine fuel. Government of India, I think, capped that. So again, the impact on us is almost 10% in domestic, but again, more into international. So that cost is impacting everywhere, and every facet that cost is impacted. That is one side of it. But I guess something which we are not seeing is the impact on the supply chain. Yesterday I was seeing one report where, people were talking about a crisis of palm oil, I think, which will be foreseen, wherein, there are certain country who wanted to use that, like ethylene we are using, ethanol, they're talking about they will be putting the palm oil into. So again, that supply. So my point of mentioning is that again this industry becoming very, very relevant, when the supply chains are impacting, because major trade is happening through the sea route, and again we know what is volatility is there and vulnerability is there into the sea route, right? Again, this route is something which is critical and helpful. So again, my take, and as an organization, our take is, again, we always see in the crisis situation, like the COVID situation has come. I think those situation, we as a team, came forward, and again, I think that is far behind. Nobody even talk on the discussions. So it's an important, crucial time. But again, everybody need to support each other, and I think the cost impact which is which is impacting, definitely it will impact the airline, and further the cascading will be going down. So again, this is a time where we need to support each other as an industry, and I think I think tomorrow will be much, much better. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I agree with that. So I think before I move to the audience to ask questions, so I'll give you the last opportunity to very quickly summarize your points, maybe one or two statements each. From you, Prem, we start with you. Any closing remarks from you, quickly?
Well, I'm aware, and we keep on reading that infrastructure is a big issue. Airports, I don't know how many cargo terminals we have. If I compare with what they are available outside India, they might be at par with the passenger terminals or whatever is there. But that's where is a big issue. I without sounding having any political affinity, I would just like to make a comment that in case we do not get this in the current dispensation, I don't know whether we'll get it. And I'm an example, because we have a person who's sitting here, Mr. Vipul Nanda. He knows. I'm sure a lot of you people would have seen the size of the carriers in this country. There was no size. The length or breadth and anything, and people were just dying on the road. There was no safety, nothing. And it's the current dispensation which took a decision, no, we need to bring some method into the madness also. And they brought it. And today, all the truck, I don't call them that they have been cut. I see they have been right-sized. They have not been downsized. Similarly, if you come to railways, as I gave you the examples, the way the railways were so forthcoming in helping the people, helping the customers, because the businesses were made, they were questioned on the basis of the market share they have got. Not whatever best I can manage, we've been doing it. So I strongly feel that the time has come when even, I'm sure a lot of things must be happening. I am no one to make any comment whether it's happening or not, but just a comment that this is the right time in the current dispensation to go for it, because everybody is talking of infrastructure. And that could be a very big starting point. And what we were talking of, this geopolitical situation, and I was just seeing that the domestic is 1/3 and the international is 2/3. I would say it gives me an opportunity also to make this 1/3 to 1/2. Because as simple, you have to decide whether you park those aircrafts or you use them for the domestic. whether you pay the cost of parking the aircraft and the EMIs or whatever is the word being used, or you still get something out of it. So that what I feel, and I think I have said whatever I had to say, but only thing is it has to be of preferred choice. I don't think the cost is an issue at all. Till the time it's a value proposition for me, I'll definitely take by air cargo. If it is not, I won't touch it.
Thank you, Prem. Vikas, your quick comments, closing remark.
Okay, I think first of all, thank you very much, Logistics Shakti, for having us and bringing this topic. I feel this topic is very rarely discussed, and I think this is something I think we should have more and more discussion. Maybe a smaller good discussion. To sum up, I can say yes. I think again demand and supply is there. Yes, definitely. The topic I can say, yeah, we more and more require more airports which facilitate the logistic. That is one. So definitely demand of infrastructure. Apart from that, the most important thing I just wanted to mention is again, because it's a multimodal. Something which is coming from the air, it cannot be airport to airport, right? Again, so from airport to door also something which is the last mile, which is required and which will be always required unless we come up with the drone deliveries, right? But I think it's far away. Yes, we are doing in certain limited space, but in general, it is far away. So again, that infrastructure and certain, when we talk about the government forums also, so definitely we tell them, the no entry barrier or something, electrification, all companies are unitedly doing. So I think we need some concession and more facility into it. And last but most important is use of the technology. I think that will benefit us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vikas. Prem, funding, any quick comments from you?
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you very much to everyone. The closing note is that, delivery is precisely our product. So it can be done with an infrastructure, manpower and the technology. So technology can be bring into systems, but unless until we have a skilled manpower to use that, it will going to be failure for us. So my suggestion is that, so every organizations must have an L&D department, learning and, so to sophisticate and to support the employees to adopt the technology what it is coming to us actually. So that's what I'm closing note on this actually.
Thank you.
Short of time.
I think we have a few minutes for the questions, if any of you have anything. So we can just take 2 or 3 questions. Anyone? No? All right, thank you very much. So now let me hand over to the MC of the event. Thank you. You've been wonderful panel members, so thank you very much for all your comments and contributions. Thank you.
Wonderful panel with very insightful discussions and being on time. Thank you very much. May I request Mr. Inderjeet Sherawat and Mr. Suman Jha to please join us in presenting the mementos. Thanking Mr. Vikas Patil. Thanking Mr. Prem Verma. Mr. Paniraj Murthy. And thanking our moderator, Mr. Ramesh Mamidala. we'll close with a group photograph of all the panelists and the presenters. So a group photograph आप सभी के. Thank you once again to the panelists and the moderator and the presenters.